Hello and welcome everyone to this somewhat spontaneous call that Masami has invited us all to join into. And I just wanted to say a few quick words. First of all, again, welcome to all of you who are joining us on Zoom and those of you who are joining us on YouTube Live. This is a time when there is so much going on in the world, and we are struggling to comprehend and take in the full weight of everything that's happening around us. And as we've found in past times, it gets to a point where we're so full up that we need to just be able to maybe know that there are others besides us that are feeling the same way. And so that's what today is about. It's about just sharing our experiences and knowing that we're not alone. I wanted to share a quick story about this before we launch into this and Masami comes in. But in just sitting and thinking and reflecting about what today is for me, I was sitting and I had pulled out a few books that I was flipping through, looking for something inspirational. And just at the moment that I had opened up something and started taking some notes, the doorbell rang. And I have to say, I was really irritated because it was not just a ring, but a pretty insistent knocking. And so I went up and I thought it was a friend of ours who I had just spent several days with doing some project. And I was thinking, why is he here? I just saw him yesterday and 2 days before that. But it wasn't. It was another neighbor of ours. And he was canvassing the neighborhood for some political purposes. But I stepped outside to say hello to him. And the very first thing that he asked me is, "So how's your meditation going?" And I just was sort of taken aback because that's exactly what I'd been doing. I'd been sitting and meditating and trying to gather myself. And I hadn't seen this man for probably 5 years. So it was a strange thing. And from that point, we got into this long hour-and-a-half conversation about the state of the world, about our interconnectedness, about Indra's net, about quantum connection in an omnicentric universe. It was a wide-ranging conversation, and it was something that I really needed. And the reason that I'm sharing this is that even in the midst of all of the difficulties that we may feel like we're encountering, there are others out there that are also having that experience. And so to me, that was a perfect underscore to why we're gathered here today, to share what's happening for us, what's real, how is the world and the events that are happening, what's unfolding, how is that impacting us? So that's what we're here for. We're here to share. And before we get any further, I want to invite all of you for just a minute or so to come to yourself. Find your center for a moment. And we can do this very simply. And let's do it deliberately. And by that, I mean, I want us to send all the signals to our brain and our body and our mind. And one of the best ways to do that is to check your posture. And I'm just going to invite you to do this for a minute with me. Let's just sit upright so that you have a nice curve in your lower spine. Okay, long neck. You can feel the lift of your rib cage gently. And from there, take a nice, long, slow breath through your nose and extend the exhale a little bit longer than the inhale. And now that you are set in that position, I want everyone to just come with me for a minute and repeat that slow, deep nostril breathing inhale and a slow exhale that's a little bit longer at your own rhythm. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to say a couple of words that come to me. no matter how deep the darkness is, we can never be truly alone. Even in our deepest aloneness, there is a community of others who are also alone with their aloneness. As you breathe gently in, slowly, quietly through your nose, see if you can find that connection through your breath, in and out, with everything, with everyone, with all of the things that we aspire to and wish for, and all of the things we wish we didn't have to face. The horrors, the tragedies, it's all there. And as you breathe it in, imagine that you are like a little local filter that's helping to clean some of that difficulty, some of that struggle out of the atmosphere, so that when you exhale, what you're putting back in to the world, to the atmosphere, for others to share, is a somewhat cleaner, lighter, purer version than what you took in. And that's it. That's all any of us needs to do right now. And as we connect with our breath, we may find that we also connect with our hearts. And as we connect with our hearts, we may notice that little pinch or tug of a broken heart, one that we might be protecting because it's so tender. And the invitation right now is that while we're here for whatever time we're on this call, that you know that it's safe to let down your guard a little bit, even if it's just for this time. It's okay to feel whatever you're feeling, however it comes up, even if it's not what feels good right now or what you would like to feel right now. And know that we're all here bearing that weight of whatever comes up together. So finding your natural breathing rhythm. Take one more inhale and a longer exhale. And let's come back together and find out what this call has for us today. Thank you all for your presence. And with that, I'm going to invite Masami to join us. And if Masami doesn't join us right away, then I'm going to talk a little bit more.
Go ahead, Chris. I think maybe start with what you were sharing about Pema Chodron's voice.
Yes. So just before the doorbell rang today, I was looking at is Pema Chodron's book, Start From Where You Are, which is a great title, and it's just about that. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the book in front of me, but I was just reading about this part in the introduction where she says, if you would have perfect compassion for others in the world, you first must have perfect compassion for yourself. Now, I think we can tone that down just a little bit. I think we don't have to aim for perfection exactly. I think that we can say, even if you would have a little bit of compassion for others in the world, you need to have at least a little bit of compassion for yourself. I think that's the rule, is you have to begin within. So that's what was coming through in all of this today for me. And I'm going to add one more thing, because I think that it's on theme with what is happening in the world and in me personally. So this is what I'm bringing today. I was looking through some notes from past retreats and things that I've read, and I just opened up my notebook, and it fell open at a page where there was a word written at the top. And it doesn't really matter what the word was. I'll say it, but don't worry if you don't quite get it. Okay. The word was koham. Okay. Koham. And what that word essentially is a challenging question that is saying, who are you? What are you? And I saw that, and it sort of took me aback, because that's exactly what I've been chewing on for the last couple weeks or so. Just what is this thing called Chris all about? And so as I was sitting with that question, one of the things that really struck me is that we live in a universe that is, according to physicists, constantly expanding. It's stretching. And the thought that came to me is that, okay, there's a reason why we feel so much restlessness and so much of a sense of uncertainty. And that's because we're getting stretched all the time too. That this job of becoming is never done. It never stops. You don't stop becoming until you are no more. And who can say where that actually happens, if it happens? So we're never at a true resting point. And that makes us, as a biological system, very anxious at times. And so that was something that really was coming through for me today, is that feeling of just remembering, that's right, just like plants grow, just like weather changes, we are constantly moving and shifting internally, externally. We're aging, we're going to sleep, waking up, eating, we're going to the bathroom, exercising, interacting with other people. It never stops. And so our task then becomes learning how to be with that constant state of flux. And you've all heard this before. This isn't anything new. But to me, it bears repeating and reminding ourselves again that stretching is right. That's where we are right now. The world is stretching, and it's stretching us with it, whether we asked for it or not. So I'll stop my comments right now at that point and hand it over to Masami, because this was her idea to have this call. And she has gathered a lot of really heartfelt comments from many of you. And she'll share some of those today. And also we'll have some more sharing, and we'll cue you on that as well. So Masami, go ahead, take it away.
Well, thank you, Chris. And thank you everyone for being here. I see you. If you have the cameras on, please do show your faces, because it's necessary. It's needed in this world. So it's necessary for healing, I think, to see each other. So I see you. Chris, I put a quote from Pema Chodron here. Will you read it to us?
Yeah, just give me 1 second to orient myself.
Okay, yeah,
yes, I've got it. Okay, so this is from Start From Where You Are by Pema Chodron. She says, the idea of karma is that you continually get the teachings you need in order to open your heart. I'll say that again. The idea of karma is that you continually get the teachings you need in order to open your heart. To the degree that you didn't understand in the past how to stop protecting your soft spot, how to stop armoring your heart, you are given this gift of the teachings in the form of your life to give you everything you need to learn how to open further. I'll read that last part one more time. To the degree that you didn't understand in the past how to stop protecting your soft spot, how to stop armoring your heart, you are given this gift of the teachings in the form of your life to give you everything you need to learn how to open further. So that's the invitation again, is to find that soft spot, the place you want to protect and kind of cover over and curl around, and allow that to come forward.
Thank you. So I was, I think this is just a time of sharing, and then we are holding the space, but we're also holding space for one another, right? There's no way that I and Chris, we can't be the only ones holding the space. So we're all holding the space together. And I think of those forests like that have all these aspen trees that they're all connected together and they're tied together and their roots are woven together like this big tapestry that holds it together. Because if you actually know how the aspens work, their roots are very shallow, but they spread and they create this organisms, like this giant one singular unit. But each and every aspen has its own different expressions, right? But that's kind of, that's what's happening to us. But we are being threatened also with forest fires and droughts. And we see this hardships that the aspens are going through in the Rockies when we drive to the mountains. We see it all the time, that a lot of these trees are suffering together and then supporting together. And the other day we went for a hike and we're walking up this really pretty aspen groves. And I said to Chris, I said, oh my gosh, and none of these have leafed out. And that's because we had this early snowstorm this spring that basically froze all the new leaves. And so all these giant aspen trees, they take a long time to grow that tall. They don't have a very long lifespan, but it takes 25, 30 years to get to that size, maybe some of them longer. And you can always find which one is the mother of the community. You can always go find one that is, it's feeding into all this other ones. But then, so I'm walking through first, the initial reaction was, oh my gosh, this is so sad. This is devastating. It's like, none of these are going to survive this year. And I started to go into, oh my gosh, these are going to die. These are, maybe it's frozen forever and they'll never come back. But then I started thinking, okay, wait a minute, we've had these before and they do come back. They might be smaller, but maybe next year they will recover from this. And I look to the bottom of this grounds and then I see these little aspens, little guys that generally do not get the sunlight because the giant ones are shading them. They just were shimmering with the light and the wind and the breeze, and they were just loving the attention that they could get from the sunlight, the exposures. And then so I looked up and I looked down and I thought, these guys are giving way to these little guys so they can grow this year. They can expand. They can create the net that we talk about, Indra's net, right? The connections. And so that still, I was a little heartbroken by what happened. But by the time we U-turned and came back down, I looked around and I said, I know all will be fine. All will be fine. There'll be this new creation, and then there'll be challenges, but there are this shifts that we're witnessing. And that's kind of, I kind of keep that in the background image as I go through my day, because it's just overwhelming, isn't it? Tsunamis of news. And, so one way that we can really break our hearts is to actually share our brokenness, how we feel inside. Because I think we all grow up in the society, and I certainly did in Japan. It's like, stop crying, right? Be strong. Are you still crying about this? Or you go to bed if you're going to keep crying, no dinner for you. Those are the things that we were taught. I was certainly taught that. So you just kind of hold it in, suppress. And then the diaphragm begins to lock up and you can't breathe very deeply. And you go to meditation retreats and they all tell you, take a deep breath, and you don't know what the hell that means because you've never taken the deep breaths, or you've forgotten. It's been so long. And I just feel that collectively, our diaphragms are locked up. So one way to soften that is to let your heart center break, because that's one way to soften your diaphragm, is actually to take the armor off and just let it expose yourself and say, I'm in pain. And my brother sent me an email, and it was just a one line. He said, I'm so saddened by this, but I'm most of all angry. And that's it. That's what he wrote. And that was the end of the email. And I thought, well, this is your chance, my brother, my sweet brother, to tap into your anger. Because he has that deep-seated anger. So this is our chance to really put yourself inside out and say, what have you not forgiven? What have you not truly addressed? What have you truly locked into your system with? So I invite you right now to dive into your heart center and hold that compassion as much as you can for yourself, and identify what is it that you're feeling. And if it's anger, write it out on the chat. If it's fear, say it. It's the fear of unknown. I don't know what it is that you are all feeling, but I can tell you that I certainly have. It's beyond anger. It's more just deep-seated grief. And just, I can't comprehend. I can't comprehend what's going on right now. It's confusion for me, deep disappointment. And I feel like my hands are tied. And the only thing I can offer is, okay, I'm going to sit here and say, if I could maybe put it out there and hold the space. And I'm obviously having a hard time even holding the space for you. So I feel like I'm falling apart. That's the truth. And so just tune into yourself for a moment. If it helps to close your eyes, to hold your heart center, whatever that may be for you, truly ask yourself, how are you doing? You ask yourself this. How are you doing today? How am I? And don't get discouraged if numbness is what comes up for you. It's okay, sit with that. If it's a rage that you need to turn off your camera and go out there and just scream for a moment and come back in, so be it. Just really get in touch with your own inner voice. It's important you name this. This is when our executive functioning part of the brain can actually translate what our primitive part of the brain is sensing and feeling. So it is important you translate these things into feelings and name it. Could be colors, shapes, but you want to name these. And when you feel ready, you can post it on the chat and I'll read some of it. And when I do, just hold the space for this particular person's emotions and feelings. And nothing needs to be commented. Nothing needs to be done about it. It's just the first step is to recognize and have a space like this where we could get muddy together. Yeah. Grief. Disappointment in humanity. Feeling hurt, sadness, and anger. Holding compassion for all of what is going on around me. You are loved and supported. Sending everyone here love. I'm in grief. I'm saddened that so many people are so out of touch with reality. Grief and exhaustion. Also feeling loss. Numb, tired of it all. Numb, confused, scared, and deeply grieving. Disillusioned. Such heaviness. I'm going to hand it over to you, Chris. Can you see that chat from Sam?
Yes, and I'll continue on from just for the individual comments. Frustration, anxious, uncertain. I'm so weary of it all. First time I've been able to feel my tears. Saddened when we come together, but have difficulty acknowledging each other's sharings and vulnerability and grief. And I opened up to this page earlier, so please keep sharing if you have something to add, and we will share them. But let's preserve this open conduit, because it's difficult in our normal day-to-day to sit with this kind of feeling. But I have another. It was Pema Chodron again. I pulled out several of her books earlier today, and I came across in one of her other books, which is also well worth the read. It's called The Places That Scare You, a guide to fearlessness in difficult times. So how about that? That's about where we are right now, isn't it? So the places that scare you. And I know that if any of you have read this book before, one of her things that she says often is you have to lean in to the difficulty, lean into the discomfort. But there is this line that jumped out. It's a couple of sentences, and I'll read it. She says, "It is said that wisdom is inherent in emotions. Wisdom is inherent in emotions. When we struggle against our energy, we reject the source of wisdom. When we struggle against our energy, we reject the source of wisdom." So side comment, and then I'll read a little more. All of these things that we're expressing right now, this is that energy that she's talking about. That energy of emotional stimulation, exhaustion, whatever it might be that's coming up for you. Okay, so when we struggle against our energy, we reject the source of wisdom. And this is what really caught my attention. Anger without the fixation is none other than clear seeing wisdom. Anger without the fixation is none other than clear seeing wisdom. Pride without fixation is experienced as equanimity. Pride without fixation is experienced as equanimity, that sense of peaceful balance with what is. And then the last one she says is the energy of passion, when it's free of grasping, is wisdom that sees all the angles. The energy of passion, when it's free of grasping, is wisdom that sees all the angles. And that's a tall order there, isn't it? At least to me it is. That she's telling us that there are ways for us to be with what is. And she even goes on to say that it's closer to us than blinking our eyes. That's how close our ability to understand and hold all of this is. It's all right here. But we have to keep reminding ourselves of that. We have to keep experiencing ourselves and others in order to stay with it. And in order to keep our heartbreak forward in our lives and not back in a protected place. So,
Chris, will you read Richard's poem?
I will.
I
wanted to do that. I wanted to do that. Thank you for sharing that, Richard. This is so timely. He says, if we would listen to our heart and others did the same, we could connect, though far apart, and outperform the brain. I'll read that again. If we would listen to our heart and others did the same, we could connect, though far apart, and outperform the brain. So thank you, Richard. You summed up what we're all about here today very nicely with those lines.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I see you. The reason why I started with asking all of you to name, and several more has come since, what you're feeling, and I will read more of that. But the reason why I've asked you this is I had this image. Well, Chris was out of town the night that I was watching Japanese news, and I was reading something in Japanese, and then this news popped up. The Abe was shot. And that night I went to bed pretty much knowing that he wasn't going to make it. And then the next morning, Chris was still out of town, so I could have some time to myself to just sit with it. And then I thought, I need some guidance. So I walked around, and we have several of Oracle cards and different cards that we use. So I just kind of grabbed one that was speaking to me. And I grabbed this one. Many of you know. Okay. And so Mystical Shaman Oracle Guidebook. And I just said, I just need guidance. I don't know how to sit with all that is going on. This was kind of like the last straw that broke kind of thing for me. And the first card came up, and I thought, oh, naturally. And then I asked myself, okay, I need a little maybe clarification on that. So I pulled two cards. And the first one said Beauty Way. It's a fantastically beautiful card, isn't it? Yeah, and it's a lotus flower. And as all of you know, that the lotus flowers grow in one of the muddiest, nastiest waters. You can't see the bottom. It's muddy. It's pretty yucky. But what it does is this long, long stem end to the flower collects the mud and the yuck and the muck and God knows what else, and purifies it 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 more, and then reaches the top of that pond and gives us this. And it smells amazing too, if you've ever been to a pond full of these. And you know that this is a symbol of so many things from east to west, right? It really is, it represents our kind of enlightenment and opening of our seventh chakra, the sixth chakra. And, we're opening our thousands of petals so that we can take in the sun, take in the light. But it comes through this long journey of darkness. And then so I said to myself, okay, beauty way. I guess I'm supposed to see beauty in all this that is going on. I'm supposed to see light in all this that's going on. But I quickly just needed an explanation or some support to this card. So I pulled another one. And it said, the Sweat Lodge. And it's this dark tunnel. You can see that person walking into or away. I don't know. I think you could look at it both ways, but it's this darkness. And so I first opened the beauty way, and it says the beauty way is both a path that you travel on and a daily practice. The path is where you choose to perceive only beauty before you, behind you, and all around you as you journey through life. The practice is where you take action to bring beauty to every situation you are in. When things get ugly, you act to bring integrity and peace to the difficult encounter. When everyone else perceives only darkness, you point out the light and help uncover the hidden treasures. So then I said to myself, okay, the Sweat Lodge. And I thought, okay, maybe I'm just detoxing. Maybe I need a detox or something. So I go to the essence, just a short meaning that he goes into a little bit more, but I read the first part. It says, the Sweat Lodge represents the womb of Mother Earth. Volcanic stones are heated in a fire outside, then brought into the lodge and placed in a shallow hole in the center. Participants sit in complete darkness around the red-hot stones to sweat away old habits and beliefs and heal disease. When you return humbly to the womb of the mother, you are offered second chances. And life is offering you a second chance. Take it. Since this chance may not come your way again for a while, Mother Earth is calling you into her womb and inviting you to incubate as long as needed for a spiritual rebirth. Gift yourself time to be with your darkness, your fears, your pain, and your seeds of beautiful potential until you come out the other side free, wise, and full of creativity. And so I was holding these two cards of the beauty and light, and there's this invitation to go into the darkness. And I have done the Sweat Lodge. And it can be brutal. My first one was downright scary. I thought I was going to lose my mind. In fact, I thought there was so much inner scream that was going on. It wasn't vocalized, but it was one of the scariest feelings I've ever experienced in my life. So I know what this feels like to me. And I also know what this feels like to me. And so what I started to do is I had these on my table for the last couple of days, looking at it, contemplating on it. I'm not sure why these two showed up in my life on that day. And then the next several days, I'm sitting with it. And I realized how much these are opposites and then they're polarizing, but they are actually stretching me. They're not tearing me apart, because at first I thought, oh my gosh, this is tearing me apart. But no, it's stretching me. It's stretching my capacities to be able to hold these seemingly opposition of things, the light and the dark. And I didn't even think about the lotus flower till really today, looking at it even more closely. And I thought, well, yes, it's the darkness. It comes from the darkness. And when you stretch yourself like this, like the North Pole and the South Pole, that's stretching us, the heaven and earth that is always stretching us, the front of us and the back of us are stretching us, the right, the left, that's stretching us. When we expand and expand and expand, guess what happens is that we become a creator of the new. We can actually begin to hold different ways of operating. Our container expands. And so when you're stuck only holding the light and always reaching for light and always looking for light, it doesn't necessarily stretch you in all directions. But if you're always addicted to the darkness and always in the dark, it also doesn't give you the container to hold all this. I think all of us are being asked to stretch our container, stretch our heart center so we can hold so much more. And we all need to hold so much more. And, many of you know the Khalil Gibran's poem about the sorrow and joy. The deeper you dig the sorrow, the deeper the joy. And so we're all digging ourselves deeper and stretching ourselves wider and higher so we can hold what's unfolding. And, I think of goddesses like Kali right now, the destructive energy of Kali, who can destroy, but also create, without the chaos and destructions and crumbling of what it used to be and what ought to be and what should have been, and the old way of operating. If we don't break that, we can't introduce new. And that's why it's so uncomfortable for us right now. It is so incredibly uncomfortable. And so this is when I realized that I was trying to Band-Aid myself all over. I was like stuck with Band-Aids all over me with trying to avoid discomfort. And for someone like me, it's so easy to avoid discomfort. Trust me, because I know too many tools. I know self-help tools that will surpass the 365 days. I can do self-help tools every single day, and I still have more. But what I was doing was I was trying to not get into the deepest part of that muddy pond and just let it be in the darkness, knowing that I will rise above this and I will be that flower. And I am that as well as the root. You see that I am holding both at the same time. I'm not either flower without the roots. How are you supposed to have that flower without that root? So you are both. You're always both. And so I stopped. I said, I did my morning routine. I said hello to the sun. I did some breathing. And after that, I said, you know what? Sit with it, Masami. Sit with that discomfort. Stop shying away from it. Stop avoiding it, skirting away from it in the name of light and love and healing. It's like, no, it freaking hurts right now. And it's okay that I hurt. It's okay that it's dark and beautiful at the same time. And so that led me to another thought, and then I'll pause after this, is that, whenever I go to Japan, I love visiting shrines and I love going to temples. They just don't get boring to me. I've traveled all over the world and I've been to many museums, and museums can get kind of boring to me towards the end of it, but the shrines and temples, they don't for me. Maybe because of the nature. But both shrines and temples, they always have these statues or some kind of a gatekeepers. When you go to the old medieval castles in Europe, they have them too, right? Gargoyles or something, is that what they're called? Really scary looking things carved into stones. Japan has that too. So when you're going into, let's say for a temple, they have these really scary figures on the side of the gate. You have to walk by these scary things. One has got the mouth wide open and the other one has the mouth closed, and it's like ready to attack you. They're both ready to attack you. One that has the mouth open is representation of the beginning. And the one that has the mouth closed it's representing the end. And so we're always holding the beginning and an end together. But what these guides or gatekeepers are doing is that they want you to walk through that gate before you enter the sacred space of love, sacred space of compassion, sacred space of all being, and the all energetic being. Is because as you walk through that, they are reminding you of your own rage. They're reminding you of your own anger. They're reminding you of your own fear. So you are supposed to look up to both of them before you just walk through the threshold. And there's always a threshold between those two figures. There's this little mound, usually made with wood or something, or rocks, and you walk over this threshold. It's a symbol that is teaching us you must walk over this threshold in order to get to the sacred space. But before you do that, you stop and you look at these two figures that are your expressions of your inner self that is asking you, what did you come here with? What did your heart want to really say to you today? What were you really feeling? It asks you to be honest. And if you're not, you're forbidden from going into that sacred space. And I feel that's the point we're in. We're all standing at the threshold of this first gate before you enter the another gate. Is these figures are asking you, where are you? Who are you? What are you feeling? What's your honesty about what's going on? Are you able to see it through in you? Do you have anger in you? Have you been asked to forgive and you still haven't forgiven that person? Have you been asked by others, please forgive me? And I thought about that this weekend. Not in those words, but I think my father did ask me, please forgive me. I didn't do a good job. Please forgive me. And I realized that when he was alive, I never said to him, I've forgiven you. So if you have somebody that has asked you for forgiveness and that person's still alive, please don't miss this chance of that threshold. Don't walk past that threshold. And if that person that has asked you for forgiveness in whatever ways, maybe not by words, maybe through dreams, maybe through spirits, maybe through different message, take your time and please forgive. We have to start with our own forgiveness. So we can hold more. We can hold more, everyone. We can actually hold more sorrows and joy and beauty. We can actually. but we have to stretch ourselves. And it's not comfortable, is it? Go to a yoga class and they make you stretch and you just feel pain in it. But you do it because you know probably it's good for you. It's that we're being asked to stretch. This is the practice. Yeah. So, I didn't really prepare anything because I didn't know how to prepare really, because the feelings are just too raw. That's when I, reach out to things like this to help me, to guide me. And, I opened up one of Chris's, he is Chris's, the teacher. Elias is his name. He's a Sufi teacher, and he's written these really beautiful little poetry books. And I had it marked. So before I got on the call, I just opened it up. And it said, and I just smiled, said, "Be honored. The universe is discovering itself through you. Be honored. The universe is discovering itself through you." And if that is the case, no wonder we are experiencing like an extreme amount in the levels and the, quantities, the density of emotions right now. Because maybe the universe is using us to discover itself. Then I'm going to open it up. I'm going to open myself up for the universe to discover itself. What an honor. What an honor for me. So as hard as this has been for all of us, no exceptions here, I welcome the universe to discover itself through my abilities to stretch and open and crack and break. And I'm going to stop trying to patch my heart from breaking and trying to fix it and trying not to do it and trying to hold it together. It's like, no, I'm just going to let the universe give me a brand new heart from it. And for me to have a brand new heart, I have to somewhat let go of the current heart that can only hold up to this point. I seem to have a limit to what I can hold right now. And I want to become a limitless universe. I am the universe. I want to experience what this is to be limitless. Then I'm going to let my heart break. So that's what I have. And I'm sure there are a lot of sharings. Let's make sure to read them too, Chris. If you have any thoughts, please share.
Yeah, let's read some more. And I want to just say that to open up a forum like this is difficult because inviting what hurts in all of us, which is going to be a little bit different, how do you navigate that? How do you hold that? How do you make sure you don't say the wrong thing? And this is the same kind of consideration that we're making, whether we're conscious of it or not, all the time. We're making little choices. And sometimes those choices harm other people and we're not even aware of it. Sometimes we say things we don't mean. There's this whole model in psychology about the difference between intention and impact. And we're never going to get it all right. And so to come together and be able to say, I'm hurting, and I acknowledge that you're hurting, that has to be enough sometimes. And leave the words out of it, even though there's so many amazing words. And I even had a quote lined up from someone whose words have really comforted me. And I think I'm going to share them just because it's fitting to what we've been talking about this stretching that we're feeling as we learn how to be, is it better humans, more human? I'm not sure. Or just learning to be human, period. And so I'm going to share these words from Baal Shem Tov. And to me, these are very profound words. So take them as you will. He said, when I fall, the one I will become will catch me. When I fall, the one I will become will catch me. Now, if that's not a statement of hope, I'm not quite sure what is. Because that says to me, I can screw up, I can make mistakes, and I can learn from those mistakes and grow from them. I can grow from the traumas and the difficulties that life throws at me. And there's a future me that's already caught me. I'm already held. So
I think I will start with Donna's comments. Says, in my spiritual community, when you have an emotion, the best way to get beyond it is to allow yourself to feel it, feel all of it until it leaves. The next comment says, traumatized. I have not stopped feeling traumatized since 13 March 2020. Layers of trauma, the lies, bullying, and gaslighting from our psychopathic government, media, and corporations. And the biggest trauma of all, most of the humans around me allow it all. And the Sam says about his tribal community's loss and his beautiful poem. So referring to Richard's beautiful poem, it got skipped in what was read out loud. Yeah, so we read it. Being erased in this society. I'm going to read some of the names as well, if you don't mind. Sarah, good to see you, Sarah. Love you, Sarah. Whew, I miss you, sister. Nauseous, resigned, invisible, heartbroken, angry, filled with exhaustion from a violent disappointment, very sad and unable to stomach the realities of disconnect and deep grief. Colleen says, exhausted from hoping truth will rise and continually being disappointed over and over, raw and vulnerable. Yeah, beautiful poem, Richard, Terry says. Yeah. Beautiful, Richard, thank you. Colonialism, brutal. We are all still needing to learn how to overcome this. Yeah, Sam, you're right. When I turn on NPR News to hear about Ukraine, it reminds me of being a child in elementary school during the air raid drills and crouching down along the wall of the school hallway. Is this real or a practice? Yeah. I think Abe's assassination was also a manifestation of colonialism. Thank you, Masami, for inviting and gathering is to honor our grief. Yes. Abe stood against the World Economic Forum. Blessing upon Abe, his family, and all of our Japanese siblings. May Abe inspire us by the example of his life to continue his good work. And, you know, I want to take a moment and I want you to all know that the Abe's shooting was just the last straw that broke for me. Okay. And Sue emailed me yesterday and said that, she lives only about an hour away from the shootings that happened. She said, "Thank you for opening this space for us. This whole month has brought so many more cracks to my heart also. One hard thing after the other. Tonight I went to mass at my church, and then as we prayed the intercessions, all that was filling my mind was how last week the people who were injured and killed in the 4th of July parade shooting, which is only an hour away from where I live, had no clue what was coming. And now so many lives and families are destroyed, and so many more people now live in so much fear." I sat there and felt my heart just ripping, because I know their pain is overloading them, just knowing that the last week at this time, their loved ones were here and okay. And just like that, everything was ripped apart. I know that the goodness and growth will come forth from all these things, but kindness, mercy, and people really taking the time to listen and care for each other, as you and Chris and so many others are doing, is how we can get through even the hardest things as we support one another and start connecting one heart at a time. Thank you, Sue, for sharing that. And Chris, I'll hand it over. Maybe let's keep reading several of them more, and then we'll hold that last point together.
All right, I kind of lost track of where we were on the list, so sorry if I skip some here. So I may be skipping around, but
I can start with the 2:41 p.m. part. Deborah says, "My very first sweat lodge was same, similar, Masami. Thought I might actually die. A part of me, some darkness within did die."
Okay, and Sam, I'm going to read your long comment because you've been making a lot of comments, and I want you to know that catching everything that everyone says is not always possible every time. So I just want to make that statement, but I want to acknowledge what you're saying and the perspective that you are presenting. And so this is about the cards that Masami presented. I really pray those cards in that book of writing about the cards were made by an American Indian artist. Colonial is brutal in this way and more. Our native peoples need to be the ones writing about our cultures. We have the lived experiences to talk culturally appropriate ways about our cultures. Colonial entitlement is part of the darkness. It informs the masses that non-natives have the right to define things to us, for us, and about our cultural practices, even though they're not from the community they are talking about, as though an expert. I need to name that it is hurtful. It is also hurtful that the context of Richard's poem wasn't read. That is what erasure and colonialism sound like. Native peoples know that a tribal context is important. It is those outside our community who define that it is not by omitting that info. So I wanted to read that because as we're scanning through the chat, sometimes we do miss things, or we jump, or we skip. And I will just say I acknowledge what you're calling out. And I will also acknowledge that it's easy to edit in real time and lose the context of what some people are sharing. And for that, I apologize for my part in that. And then Richard, I'm skipping more now. Richard says, "Thank you, Masami and Chris, for being here now. Thank you for being." Mary says, "Just human and trust." Sam says, "Thank you for naming that intention doesn't equal impact. The other part is to listen to the voices that often get erased when they name the harm done, and be able to acknowledge that harm without glossing it, like colonialism I named and how it hurts. Even in this circle together, we are experiencing what's being spoken or not in someone's sharing, like the context of Richard's poem."
So the context of the Richard's poem is, he says, in May, I submitted a short poem of mine to be recited to the tribal council of the tribe of which I am a member. It was recited. On May 28th, the chairman of our tribe died of a heart attack. I believe that the mandated injections contributed to his loss of health. Here is the poem, and then I'll read his poem again. If we would listen to our heart and others did the same, we could connect, though far apart, and outperform the brain. I hope I read that okay, Richard. One thing I like to say is that I actually take issues, and then this gets too big, so I'm not going to go into it, but this idea of colonialism. I do have issues with colonialism. The United States still occupies many parts of Japan, which I do not agree. They should not be in Okinawa. For God's sake, please leave Japan, is what I say. And at the same time, you know, I'm a product of the West, the white, and I'm the product of Japan, the Asian. So we've got to come together and hear each other, yes. And also stretch our hearts enough to be able to hold two and more. Because if I were to deny the colonial society of the white, let's call it white Americans, white male, I would not exist here. I would not be born into this world. So I was always asked as a child, you know, which one do you like? You know, do you like America or Japan? Do you like white culture or Japanese culture? I was asked that all the time, and I always answered it. Even as a little girl, I said, that is like you asking me to cut off one arm or the other. I was born with both, and I shall live with both as long as I can. Okay? So I understand to a certain degree of what it is to live in an occupied country by my father's country. And I know what it is to go through bigotry. I certainly do. And at the same time, I'm going to choose the third place that I talked about last time on a Monday call. I am going to straddle multiple grounds, and I'm going to live from the third place, which is a different viewpoint. This is a different place where I get to process very different cultures, different languages, different way of looking at things. And I am going to hopefully able to live from that place that is compassionate, loving, and kind. Yeah. And I think, you know, this is when I know why I came into this world right now, is for me to speak up about what it is to have two cultures, what it is to be the one that occupied it and the one that was being occupied, you know, what it is to be both at the same time. So I hope we can soften up a little, soften up our edges, break that shell in our hearts, and stretch ourselves because it's uncomfortable. Step into that discomfort. And we have the capacities to hold both. We do. We really do. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Yeah. And let's read a couple more, and then we'll wrap up. Chris, do you know where it is? Okay. Just human, yeah.
Sorry, my screen jumped. Yeah, we're going to be running out of time here, everyone. So if we don't get yours,
let's go to Donna's. I have gone through so many heartbreaking days in the past 2 years. I do feel the pain of each instance of heartbreak until it lifts. I continue to check with myself to be sure I have not lost my ability to love and be loved and show my love. Yeah. Thank you, Donna. Sarah says, I miss and love you so much. I am here for you, my beautiful sister. All of you.
Okay, I'm going to start from the bottom, catch a few people we haven't heard from. Suzanne says, hello, Masami and Chris from New Zealand. I miss you. Thank you for talking about the inner scream you had in the sweat lodge. I've become present to my inner scream. It's always been in me. It terrifies me. I somehow need to follow this thread. Thank you for helping me name this. And Alan says, I so love this shared space with you both. Thank you very much. And Richard says, I'm with you, Masami. My father was 3/4 indigenous to this continent. My mother was of European descent. And Sam says,
and you know, I know how much, Richard, you loved your mother. And you know, she's always with you, Richard. You know that. Yeah. Every time you and I have spoken, she has come through. Okay, sorry, Chris.
The last comment is from Sam, who says, thank you. Yes, it is not an either or choice being from multi-ethnic cultures. It's about understanding colonialism and understanding how it perpetuates systems of oppression because marginalized folks are being harmed. What you named and what I named are different things. It's a process to learn how to see and understand colonialism in operation. Truth speaking is love. And okay, we're going to wrap up. I'm going to read your last comment there, Sam. Listening to Indigenous voices doesn't equate to erasing voices that are truth speaking. And time is a constraint here today. It's always so enriching for us to be able to be here with all of you. And again, for something like what we invited in today, which is it's a lot of what festers in us, the things that just don't feel good, the things that hurt, the things that are feeling like they're pulling us into darkness that we don't have control of, all of those dynamics that seem so heavy right now. And my hope is that each of you comes away feeling like you are held by something larger than yourself, and that you had a taste of that today. I know I do, just by sharing this time with you. So I thank you. That's all I have for today.
Well, let's all of us, yeah, thank you, Colleen. Thank you all for feeling, sharing, holding space for all of us to know we are okay in all of the dark, skipping dark and light. Yes. You're welcome. And let's just take a moment, everyone, come back to your body. You know, sometimes these breaking of your heart can feel like out of body experience of some kind. Okay. But it's important you come back, come home. Okay, so place one hand at your heart, the other one at the lower belly. Check back into your breaths. You're breathing, you're here. Take a moment and see the beauty around you, inside, from the inside out. So your eyes are closed, but think of the beauty that you just experienced this morning, this afternoon, this evening. kindness you witnessed today, yesterday, in the recent weeks. Gentleness you experienced. Courage you experienced and you saw. Fill your heart with all that. That is also our life experience right now. Moving alongside with our sorrows and anger and fear and numbness. We're traveling companions, working together, moving together, side by side with beauty and darkness. One does not exist without the other. And in the end, I'll read that short quote again from Chris's teacher. Be honored. The universe is discovering itself through you. Be honored. The universe is discovering itself through you. From the bottom of my heart that's been shattered and rebirthing, namaste to all of you. Thank you for your being, your presence. And let's keep holding onto each other. Let's let the root system come together, weave together, and create a brand new tapestry together. All your colors matter, okay? Every single thread of us matters because that's what makes the tapestry come together. Love you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Namaste.